in a beautiful hotel in Paris with the cutest French boy smiling at you from across the pool is just perfectly splendid in every way. My personal assistant / best friend Lexi rushed towards me while holding a letter. She read it out loud. "Fancy a date on my yacht tonight? Meet me at 7 on the harbor." The boy across the pool winked at me. That night, I learned that his name was Pierre, and he treated me like a princess. But our splendid date was interrupted by a panicked call from Lexi. "Your dad's secretary called, and he's just sent the jet for us to leave right now." Ugh, he must have been mad because I'd been absent from school for a week now. I so didn't need school. I said my goodbyes to Pierre, who said he wanted to see me again, but I just smiled and left. Oh, hey there. My name is Blair, and I have an almost perfect life. I'm as smart as Einstein himself. There's only one little problem. I'm dyslexic. But it's no big deal because I have Lexi to read everything for me. I used to be #1 in literally everything, but things took a wild turn when a foreign exchange student joined our class. Please hit that subscribe button before I tell you my whole story. The next day, my limo dropped Lexi and me off at our school, a very expensive private one, where only families with a net worth of at least $1 billion can attend. "Blair, watch out!" I screamed when I saw an angry dog charging towards me. What was it doing here? Pets aren't allowed. Francesca, my arch nemesis, picked it up while laughing at me. "Good boy," she whispered, but I heard it. This insecure brat always found a way to ruin my day. "Oh, hey, Blair. I'm giving out our newest luxury product, this $1 million perfume, for free. I thought you might need one." "Thanks, Francesca, but I'd rather donate it to charity." The principal appeared and got angry when she saw her dog. "Our dog mansion with 10 floors is currently being renovated, so my baby needs to roll with me." Ugh, what a show-off. The principal shut her mouth when Francesca gave her a stupid perfume, too. In the middle of class, I suddenly forgot how to breathe when the most gorgeous boy that I'd ever seen walked in. "Everyone, I would like you all to meet Terrence, a foreign exchange student from Korea, and he will be with us for this school year." We were all speechless as we looked at him. Francesca immediately offered her seat, but Terrence just headed quietly to the back. Our math teacher then started the discussion and suddenly asked us to solve the area of a stadium on our tables. Such a no-brainer. The answer is, it's 69,963 square meters. We all turned to Terrence like we'd seen a ghost. He'd answered before me. Like, how? After class, all the girls flocked around him, including Lexi. I tried to smile at him too, but he didn't smile back. What a snob. I snatched Lexi away from him and told her to cut it out. "Do that again and I'll fire you." "Oh, come on, Blair. He's literally perfect. He's like Lee Min-ho." "He's not my type." Terrence might have heard that because he turned to me, but so what? He snubbed me, and first impressions last. Every year, our principal holds an auction party, and this year, all the proceeds would be going to poor children in Africa. The last item to be auctioned was a beautiful pearl with a special history. It cost around $50 million. As expected, Francesca and I started the bidding battle. 100 million, 200 million, 500 million. 1 billion. Then the principal asked if anyone wanted to go any higher. Lexi leaned closer to me and tried to stop me, but I couldn't let Francesca win. 2 billion. 10 billion. Silence filled the room when a male voice joined in and said, $100 billion. Everyone turned to the back. It was Terrence again. He really was something else. The principal declared, "Wow, that's a new record. Sold." My eyebrows shot up when I saw Francesca offering him a handshake in a flirty way. Lexi said, "I think you two look better together." Ew, stop that, Lexi. He's a snob and only loves his phone. During our finals week, as usual, I took a special oral exam because of my reading condition. When the results came back the next day, the blood drained from my face when I didn't see my name at the top spot. It was Terrence. He hadn't even been in our school a full year. Then Francesca appeared from nowhere and said, "Just accept the fact that you're a loser now, Blair." I asked Lexi to do some research on Terrence. I needed to know what was up with him. He seemed like the love child of Einstein and Bill Gates. One day, while I was rushing to the toilet, I bumped into him and tripped over. Jeez. His chest was as hard as a tree. I looked up at him and met his cold, brown eyes. I was expecting him to offer his hand, but the jerk skipped past me like I was trash on the floor. I'd never felt so humiliated. It was the first time a guy had ignored me. Lexi came to the rescue and helped me to my feet. He helped me when I tripped out of my helicopter yesterday. Sorry, girl, but you're not his type. Francesca's comment made me furious. Thank God Lexi calmed me down, or else. During lunch, Lexi told me that she'd finally finished her research on Terrence. He was a young CEO in Korea, and his company develops games and software. That's why he's always on his phone. So, he's a self-made billionaire. Interesting. I was on my way to our campus's art center one time, and I stopped when I saw a board ahead. It had some words on it. Francesca and her friends were right behind me, but I didn't want to ask her for help, so I tried to read it myself. It seemed to be saying something about a vacation. I ignored the sign and continued walking. Suddenly, the ground under me collapsed. Someone caught me right on time before I was buried alive. I looked up to see my savior. It was Terrence. He let me go and dusted his uniform off. Don't you know how to read? It says deep excavation ahead. I have dyslexia. Anyway, thanks for saving my life. Just be careful next time. My heartbeat was still going fast as I watched him walk away. A few days later, the principal announced the annual competition between private schools called the Battle of the Brains. I was so ecstatic when I was picked again to represent our school. I always aced it. The problem was the competition would be all about teamwork, so I needed a partner. And Terrence was picked. Lexi came up to me and said, "Oh my God, I ship you both. This is going to be fun." I ignored Lexi's stupid comment and told Terrence to meet me in the music room. We needed to talk about the competition. While I was waiting for him, I started playing the piano. I couldn't finish the song because I forgot the keys. Just in time, he arrived and continued for me. We were so close to each other and it felt really weird. I was about to move, but the way he played was hypnotizing. I flinched when I felt a spark as our fingers touched. He looked down at me after he finished playing. That's how you do it. I don't need piano lessons right now. We need to plan a strategy. Just focus on the spelling. Memorize the letters of the longest words, and we'll be fine. Don't underestimate me, Terrence. How about you? Are you going to study? The dummy answered me with a poker face and left the room. Sometimes I really hated his guts in his gorgeous face. And seriously, he was so confusing. The competition day finally came and we were totally silent during the ride. He later fell asleep on my shoulder and I went stiff as a board. Should I move my shoulder or should I let him sleep in peace? The limo passed over a rough road which woke him up. He looked up at me and I immediately looked away. Can you, scoot over? You're in my personal space. My heartbeat went back to normal when he moved. I was so nervous during the game, but as expected, we made it to the final round. Terrence won the versus round against another boy, and then it was my turn. I needed to win this so we would be the winners already. I was shocked when the announcer said that it was a spelling round. Oh no. Spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Terrence gave me an encouraging look. I focused and wrote down all the letters according to my memory. I felt like passing out from nervousness when I slowly raised my answer. Correct. I jumped around in happiness and found myself hugging Terrence. When I realized what I was doing, I immediately pulled away. He then patted my head and smiled at me for the first time. And I must admit, he looked even more gorgeous. You did great. Well, thanks for your advice. Lexi showed up to congratulate us. Oh my gosh, you guys were so good. You two should get married already. Ugh, Lexi and her random fangirling. Terrence smiled at me in the hallway the next day, and it made me feel something in my stomach. What a miracle that he wasn't wearing his headphones and holding his phone in front of his face. Suddenly, the girls started screaming. I went to see what was happening and was shocked to see Pierre in our school uniform. He was showing everyone my pictures that he took on his phone. Oh, finally. There's my girl. Pierre immediately walked up to me and kissed me on the cheek. What are you doing here? I told you. I wanted to see you again. I enrolled in your school just to be with you. I didn't know what to say. Pierre kept following me around and it bothered me. I wanted to turn him down, but I felt bad for breaking a nice guy's heart. Mademoiselle, come. I have a surprise for you. I told Pierre that I still had a class, but he grabbed my arm and was about to pull me outside when someone grabbed my other arm. It was Terrence. Come on, we're running late already. Everyone stopped in their tracks to watch. Terrence and Pierre were glaring at each other, and there I was, looking like a statue between them. Neither of them wanted to let me go, and it was so awkward. I caught Lexi's eye and gave her the signal to help me. She acted like she sprained her ankle and purposefully fell on Pierre. Lexi then winked at me as Pierre turned to help her. She was the best. I didn't know how to get rid of Pierre over the next few days. Terrence started avoiding me too. Once, when I went into class, Pierre winked at me and told me to come and sit next to him. I said, "Pierre, I just want to be clear that you're not my boyfriend." Yet. That night, Francesca threw a party on her own private island and invited everyone. I didn't want to go, but Pierre was so persistent. During the party, he was telling me about his plan to buy a resort in Paris. He was talking nonstop while all I could think about was Terrence. I wished he was here. I signaled Lexi to start our plan. I excused myself to the restroom as she came over and I let her entertain Pierre. I sneaked out and found myself in a beautiful garden. While I was smelling some flowers, I suddenly felt someone's presence beside me. I turned to see Terrence. "You're here. I didn't think you'd come." "Francesca came over to my place yesterday and invited me." "What?" I wanted to ask him what else she did at his place, but I chickened out. He was looking up at the sky and suddenly a snowflake dropped on his forehead and he slowly closed his eyes. It was a beautiful moment, and I just found myself staring. "It's the first snow of the year." "Oh. Is it?" He seemed to be so happy about it, and I wondered why. "Where's your boyfriend?" "He's not my boyfriend. I just met him in Paris last time I was there." "I'm relieved." "What do you mean?" The snow continued falling over us. He stepped closer and suddenly kissed me on the forehead.
"I like you, Blair."
I wasn't expecting that. My heartbeat was so loud I was shaking. Moments later, I finally gave in to my attraction. I think I like you too."
"Let's get out of here."
I told him that only my dad had access to our helicopter, but he just gave me a smug smile and said,
"That's not a problem."
Did he plan ahead or what? The helicopter flew us to a beautiful place, and while we were enjoying the marvelous view beneath us, I felt his hand holding mine. It gave me an electric feeling. I'd never felt this way before. After our helicopter date, he brought me to this Korean restaurant and made me taste their delicious specialties. We fought over the bill and he won and paid for it. I then gave the waiter a tip, a key to a car.
"That's very generous of you, but I prefer giving tips like this."
He gave the waiter a business card and told him that his secretary would assist him in enrolling in the school of his choice.
"Education is more important, Blair."
Oh, he was wiser than I thought. It was almost midnight when we strolled in the park. When I complained about my high heels hurting my feet, he gave me a piggyback ride. This man had never failed to surprise me. We were inseparable over the next few weeks, while Lexi always ended up distracting Pierre. One day, Terrence was teaching me Korean when Lexi kept calling me. I was enjoying our session, so I ignored her calls. Later that day, I was on my way to my locker when I saw Francesca's dog again. It started chasing me and I ran into the nearest room. While I was catching my breath, I was surprised to see Pierre in there too.
"Bonjour, mademoiselle. Miss me?"
Before I could react, he suddenly kissed me. I was so shocked that I couldn't move. I slapped him and walked out to look for Lexi, but I couldn't find her anywhere. She wasn't answering my calls either. Where was she when I needed her? The next day, everyone was looking at me like I'd done something terrible, which I apparently did because an anonymous account had posted a picture of me kissing Pierre on Instagram. No, it was all a mistake. I asked Lexi about it, but she was so mad at me. What did I do? That pervert made a move on me. You weren't there when I needed you because you only care about Terrence now. Lexi, I'm so sorry. Please don't do this to me. You're my best friend. No, Blair, I'm just your personal assistant. Oh, not anymore, because I'm resigning. I was crying as she left me. I looked for Terrence and found him in the music room. Terrence, it's not what you think. Let me explain.
"I don't deal with cheaters."
I tried to convince him, but my heart broke when he said,
"Get lost, Blair. I don't want to see you again."
I was totally miserable after that. My best friend and boyfriend were ignoring me, and everyone was calling me a cheater. One day, I passed out in my room because I hadn't eaten all day. When I opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was Lexi. Thank God you finally woke up. You had me so worried. Are you okay? How can I be okay when you hate me now? Oh my God, stop.
I'm not used to seeing you cry. Lexi then told me that she overheard Francesca and Pierre talking about their plan to set me up. I knew it. I need to talk to Terrence. She then looked away and said, "He went back to Korea this morning." What? Are you freaking serious? I felt like someone had thrown cold water on me. She just bowed her head and avoided my eyes. Why so soon? Is this a prank? I'm so sorry, Blair. I already told him the truth, and he believed me, but he still left. No, this can't be happening. I tried to get up, but Lexi told me that my doctor had advised that I shouldn't leave bed yet. I called Terrence, but his phone wasn't on. I checked his social media accounts and confirmed that he was already back in Korea. I just wanted to sleep and hope that it was all a dream. The next day, I woke up to Lexi's scream. She pulled me out of bed and dragged me outside. There was an unfamiliar jet landing outside. A handsome boy then stepped out, and I swear, my heart jumped with joy when I realized who it was. I ran up to him and hugged him. He apologized for doubting me and for not telling me about him leaving. I just needed to finish my surprise for you. He then showed me an app on his phone. You can download this from the App Store. I've specially developed this for dyslexics. Oh my God, this is amazing. I love you, Terrence. I love you more, my Blair. I was so over the moon when he finally kissed me. Another cute Korean guy came out and Lexi looked like she just peed her pants. Terrence introduced him as Andrew, his brother, and Lexi started jumping in excitement. Thank God you have a brother. Terrence and I just laughed as we held each other's hands.
Hey, so I'm Layla, and my sister Laura and me are twin sisters. Some twins are identical, but we're not. We're both 15 years old and we're born 2 minutes apart. I'm older. But as much as we have in common, we have one big thing that makes it easy for people to tell us apart. Laura weighs 300 pounds. It's a lot. If you were to minus my weight from hers, you'd get enough left over to make another 1.5 of me. I hate math. It wasn't always this way. In fact, when we were little, it was really hard to tell who was who if you weren't staring us right in the face. We didn't have 2 closets, just one big one with duplicates of our favorite dresses and outfits. I used to think the worst thing about not being identical twins was that we couldn't pretend to be each other without someone finding out. But it turns out that wasn't the worst thing. The worst thing is when the person you shared a womb with has to go through something that genetically you just don't have to. See, my sister has a medical condition that has caused her to gain a lot of weight. To make matters worse, the medication she has to take also causes her to gain weight. So even though she would eat super healthy, like only vegetables, ew, and cottage cheese, double ew, she would keep getting fatter, whereas I, on the other hand, could scarf down 2 cheeseburgers, a soda, french fries, and a sundae for dessert and still weigh the same exact thing. So, even though I loved my sister, it was really hard to be twins with someone people make fun of. I felt anger the first time they called her names. Wide load, beached whale, cannonball, and I absolutely refused to go anywhere or do anything without her. But over time, I started to feel embarrassed by her. That's when we stopped talking. We didn't stop talking like there was only silence all of the time, but we stopped really talking to each other, like from the heart. When it came time to try out for the high school cheerleading team, something we dreamed of doing together for years, I wasn't sure what I should do. Did I give up something I wanted so that I didn't hurt Laura's feelings? When I asked her, she said of course I should try out for the team, and so I did. And I made it. I remember how sad she looked when I told her. Since it was hard for her to physically get to football games, she eventually stopped coming to see me cheer. And that made me really sad. Things were hard at home, too. Because she needed special things, my parents paid all their attention to her. It made me feel lonely, but then my dad would lecture me. Remember, your sister is going through something, and you need to be understanding. Didn't he realize I was being as understanding as I could be? I almost didn't even exist in the house. One time the phone rang, it was one of my friends, and my mom told them I wasn't home, even though I was sitting right in front of her. That's how much they didn't notice me. But Then something really bad happened that changed my whole outlook. I said something really mean to my sister when she asked me to get something down from her closet for her. I was so frustrated that she had a better room, a better bed, special food, special clothes, special attention, that I screamed, "Mom and Dad only love you because you're so fat!" Her eyes filled with tears, but instead of crying, she ran out of the room. I kind of felt like it served her right, but then I heard a horrible sound. She slipped on one of my shoes I'd left lying around, screamed, and fell down the stairs. Mom and Dad weren't home, so I called 911. When they put her onto the gurney and into the ambulance, I heard one of the guys say, "Well, it isn't every day you get 3 for the price of 1. I got so mad, I ran up into his face and yelled, "Do you even know what you're talking about? That's my sister, and she has a medical condition." He was like, okay, I'm sorry. And he was apologizing over and over again. Laura smiled at me as they closed the ambulance door. Our twin power was back. Luckily, she wasn't hurt too bad. We spent almost every day together after that. No matter what people said or did, we were twins for life. Or as Laura liked to joke, triplets forever. Share this video with someone who's going through a rough time for something they can't do anything about. And like this video if you think family should always come first.